But what I really want to talk about is the idea of what makes a very, very successful CEO. I have about 50 under contract with me right now between Minneapolis and here. We do have all of them on what we call the EOS system or traction. And as I've worked with them over the last 5, 6 years, plus all my other years of working and training, he says, what makes a successful CEO, right? I've got 5 things, so get your notes out. First of all, it's the word vision. Vision, this is the idea of a ability to really see clearly where they're going. Maybe foggy for everybody else, but that CEO, that owner has a vision of where we're going, what we're doing, how we're going to get there. And the biggest thing is that the really successful CEOs have the ability not just to have that vision, but to really have it clear and be able to really communicate it through everybody in the organization so that everybody understands what that is. And not only just within their organization, but to their suppliers and to their customers too, so that everybody understands, do I want to hitch my wagon to this vision? And it's very interesting, I don't know, I know I've got gray hair, but does anybody remember this guy by the name of Kennedy? And he said, I'm going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. Did anybody remember hearing that? You were around that long ago? Well, that's a great example of how powerful a vision can be. Now, being in grade school at that time, I remember we didn't have TVs in grade school then. Matter of fact, they're all still black and white. But they let school out. We got to stay home and watch the rocket launches. That's how impactful this was for the whole nation. You can pull a whole nation together because you have a vision of what you want to do. You bet, we didn't have school in 1969 when they walked on the moon. Everybody was in front of a TV someplace. The thing is how do you pull a group, a country, much less a group of employees together? Well, that's the power of that vision and what it can be doing, or how it can be doing. Many people said that other than World War II and the Kennedy's space, we really haven't had that kind of a vision in this country. And so we have other challenges. But when you look at a company, you look at an organization, that vision, I cannot tell you how important that is. How many of you would agree? You would much rather hitch your wagon to something that you know where it's going. Yep. Sure. And your employees would too. They like to know, where are we going? I want to hitch my wagon to this. So successful CEOs really understand that value of vision. The second thing that they really work on is the right people, the right seat, for the right reason, doing the right thing. I know you've never heard that before. The right bus idea. But picking and establishing the right team that brings the right skills and capabilities is extremely important. If you want to scale a business, if you really want to scale an organization, how do you do that if it's all focused through one person? And I can't tell you how many times I've walked into small business entrepreneurs and they say, I just can't seem to grow. Well, 100%, they're like the bottle in the cork in the bottle. Nothing else can get out because they've got that 100% control. They haven't learned how to put that right people in the right seats to get the right kind of actions. This includes core values, having the right kind of organization, having people that bring the passion and stuff to that vision, and it expands that, and people who want to expand their capability and capacity. Now this is all about delegating and elevating. And many times people really have a challenge with this idea of how do I delegate and elevate? And trust is a big issue that we end up working with. How do we get them? But again, right people that you can trust is a big part of it. It's not always easy. It can be highly, highly frustrating, as I can attest by the many coaching sessions I've had with CEOs about why don't they think like I do, right? How many have ever said that? They don't because they're employees. But that's the challenge that the CEOs have, is how do you develop and build those strong people so that you not only increase the value of your organization, but you increase the value of your employees and therefore the value of the sum total. Third thing I want to touch on is accountability in all things. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, I can only hold people accountable. Well, that accountability, and great CEOs hold themselves accountable first. They're the first ones to say, this is on my shoulders, this is my fault, this is my issue, this is my problem. But at the same time, they have the right processes, systems, organizational things, the right metrics, the communications, so that expectations are out there, so that people can manage themselves. It's very interesting once you give people a good direction, good expectations, and then you give them a number. Say, here's the number you need to hit, the metric. It's amazing how they outperform and how they go so fast and grow so fast. It's almost as though now you got to hold them back. It's kind of the CEOs run around and says, I've got this hat that says, which way they go, I am their leader, because they're so far out in front of you. But that's what good CEOs do, and that's what they want. One test that I'd put out here for anybody that's running a business, if I ask you what your vision is, where you want to go, and what you want to accomplish, say, in the next 3 to 5 years, and you give me a very clear picture of what that is, what happens when I go talk to any of your people or employees? Are they going to give me that same picture? Or are they going to kind of go, I don't know? That's where a lot of our issues and problems come in, because they're not getting that communicated. And that's part of that accountability in making it work. Here's the interesting one, and this is one that I've coined, and a lot of people have asked me. He says, when you're working, this is the fourth one, when you're working with CEOs, what is it that you try to do? What are you trying to make happen? And I answer it with, I help them be very comfortable with consistently being uncomfortable. How's that sound? Being very comfortable with consistently being uncomfortable. Because when you ask the CEO what's been happening in their day, is it ever the same day? Between people issues, marketing issues, government issues, whatever else you can possibly think of, they're constantly changing. Things are constantly happening within that organization. The reality is that the CEO is always dealing with something different. And their ability to change or to work with that really becomes a very viable piece to it. I remember very succinctly, as a matter of fact, I think it was on the other side of the hall. I was at a meeting here, and I was talking to a young lady, and she says, well, what do you do? Well, I says, I work with CEOs, executives, and kind of told her about the round tables and stuff, and I said, I help them be very comfortable being uncomfortable, and she says, I don't understand that. What is that? And I said, well, here's a quick example. And I told her very quickly about one of my clients who was dealing with a partnership issue, long-term relationship, potentially having to basically terminate their best friend and partner. And she says, oh my God, I could never do that. But it says that's what being uncomfortable consistently at times does. It's those kinds of things that CEOs work with. Fifth thing, and here's an interesting one, care. When people ask me about CEOs, or when I read some kind of vile thing in the media that says, oh, those dirty old CEOs, right? I say, boy, they don't know them very well. Because I think they really care. I think some of the CEOs that I work with anyway are some of the most caring, giving people that I've ever met. And I would much rather be stranded with them than somebody else, because they do care. Just yesterday, I was sitting with, we have our CEO groups yesterday and today. 10 CEOs in a group, they get there. And one of the things we were talking about was some performance issues on one of the CEOs. Or one of the CEOs said, I've got a guy, he's a young guy, very, very good, very talented, he's gotten 2 DUIs. And I says, I'm concerned. Is this a right pattern? CEO right next to him says, here's my card, have him call me. I've been sober 25 years. Didn't know the guy, didn't know the kid, but he says, have him call me, I want to help him. Now, when you have that kind of a situation happening at that level, what does that tell you? But I can guarantee you that the CEOs that are highly successful are people that really care about people. Sometimes they have to make the difficult decision and maybe put them on a different bus, but that's okay. That's what it's about. So I'm going to summarize this up because my clock is running out, and I don't want to cheat Jim and Kent here and stuff. Basically, I'm going to say here are 5 things that you really should look at and say, am I communicating a vision? And is it getting to everyone? And is it clear? Do I have the right people in the right seat, doing for the right reason, doing the right thing? And I can guarantee you that 90% of the time when I go into new business, they don't. Accountability. As difficult and challenging as it is, accountability, top performers absolutely love it, and it attracts them. Highly accountable organizations don't have problems recruiting people. if you can believe that or not. Become comfortable with consistently being uncomfortable. The tough things are going to be there. That's part of life. That's what being in business is. And fifth, care. Really care. And that comes out in many, many different ways. So, I got some questions, if you've got some. Who's got first question? And there's silence. Oh, by the
You kind of bullet pointed or you mentioned EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. You notice in your files that are on your tables there are 2 pages in there, which is the vision, traction, organizing. Those are 8 questions that every CEO should ask of their company, of themselves, and it ties directly into what Harlan's referring to with these key CEO traits.
By the way, I'd ask, just to raise a hand, how many here are actually implementing EOS right now? I know there's several.
Wow.
So,
That's great.
yep. So it's a great system that really drives all the 5 things that I've talked about here with it.